All children, except one, grow up. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. To paraphrase Jane Austen, it is a truth universally acknowledged that an author in possession of a good story must be in want of an opening. One of the most oddly backhanded compliments I ever received in a review was, "This isn't a grand piece of literature, so I won't judge it with the same ruler as those intense pieces of work." I've never settled down in front of my computer to write grand literature. Does anyone? I think if you put that onus on yourself, you might never write another word. As Elizabeth Bennet says in Pride and Prejudice, we are each of an unsocial, taciturn disposition, unwilling to speak unless we expect to say something that will amaze the whole room. My advice is to write without trying to amaze the whole room. Unfortunately, the challenge still remains. What sort of opening should you write to convince the reader to keep reading? I can't tell you the number of times I've opened up a new document and stared at that blank white page, wondering how I can be clever enough to please my readers and garner new ones in the bargain. It's a high bar. You can stare at that page an awfully long time if you don't write something. So write something, anything, knowing you can edit it later. In filmmaking, directors like to begin scenes with movement, so that's always a good place to start. One of my publishers liked to have the hero and the heroine meet on the first page. I always found that to be constraining, but if it works for your story, try it. As a rule, I think if you can present your character's dilemma as quickly as possible, you'll get your readers to care about the outcome. The sooner you can get your readers invested in the story, the better. Put in just enough details about the setting to enrich the tapestry, but don't waste precious words trying to describe things that are extraneous to the narrative. Also, don't do an information dump up front. You can always drip in important information as the story goes along. That's what craftsmanship is all about. A blank page can be intimidating, so to get over the hump, I've often begun writing a novel with a particular scene, knowing it won't be the opening. Once you have a document with words in it, it's sometimes easier to write the action that comes before. There's an old joke I like very much that I think applies here. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Write your novel one bit here and one bit there. Stitch it together, and then you have something to polish. And don't set out to write a grand piece of literature. Personally, I think that lofty assessment is for others to make, not the author. So relax and get going. Talk to you soon. As Mark Twain once said, the secret of getting ahead is getting started.